Hey guys, welcome to another walkthrough of the Ultimate Daily Driver Guide. We got a double feature for you guys. I'm excited for it. That's going to be sections 5 and 6, Electronic Warfare and Observation. So, Electronic Warfare, it's different, even though it shares similarities with the previous section of Energy. Electronic Warfare is a little bit different. It's more of the defense. There's not too much that you can kind of do on the offense. So it's more of the defense with regards to all of the energy stuff. So starting with level 1 is going to be EMF shielding. These are kind of the most passive components. They're not even electronics, most of them. It's just materials. So the first thing that you can do is Faraday cage your ECU. Now, there's weird stuff where some different law enforcement units and stuff in Europe and the UK and stuff, they're able to blast a disabling signal at modern vehicles to where it kind of jams their ECU or forces a shutdown. I don't know too much. I haven't been able to learn too much about how that stuff works specifically. Of course, there's not really any reports of that exactly being fielded in the US yet, but who knows? They may start doing it for people who are, disabling the cell modem stuff in their car to where they can't just, remote shut down you from the manufacturer through the cell towers. So we live in a crazy world. They'll probably field this ECU disabling stuff at some point, unfortunately. So the first thing that you can do is to find your ECU, more so find the wireless antenna, any antennas for your ECU, and Faraday cage all of that. Now, of course, some of you may point out, you got all the wires and stuff going into the ECU, and those are antennas, can become antennas in and of themselves, especially if they're not shielded and stuff like that. But this is still going to do something. It'll still help to some extent. It's more than nothing. It's cheap. It's easy. You just get conductive tape and you just tape up the ECU's box or over the ECU as good as you can. It's not too hard and it offers some level of shielding. So another thing is, as you can see the second section, in terms of the passive defense, this stuff, it blends from just kind of harmful EMF in general or offensive EMF like the ECU jamming stuff, and then it goes down to, EMP stuff. This is kind of in the Faraday caging, the ECU kind of lies in both realms, but I just have it up here because it's nice and easy. So in Faraday cage your ECU, depending on what you use, it also kind of heat shields it a little bit, so that's nice. And then next is a much bigger step, but that is you can get EMF window tint. You can get window tint that reflects, depending on the brand, 95, 98, 99% of signal from whatever range, up to 20, 40 gigahertz, whatever. It can just reflect just about any radio signal used by modern stuff, especially like 5G stuff and, whatever, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all that stuff. So, of course, the shell of your vehicle, whether it's aluminum or steel, is conductive and works to shield your vehicle already to an extent, including like the hood and the engine bay, around the engine bay and stuff like that. So the interior of your vehicle is already, it's metal. It is already, it has the potential to be a shield. Of course, because the windows are glass, it's not really a shield. It's more like a bowl that just kind of bounces around stuff inside of it. If you protect the windows, if you make the windows reflective, then you can essentially Faraday cage the entire interior of your vehicle. So that's really awesome because then inside your vehicle, basically your entire vehicle on the inside is a Faraday bag. So that's awesome for defense against getting blasted with any sort of signals that you don't want. You can keep your devices from saying anything to signal trace nodes or any stuff like that. So EMF window tint, it's really nice. Now there's some stuff to add about that. We'll go into it here. So first is the legality of that. So state laws differ on window tint. Now the window tint that I have seen that is EMF reflective, it is not that dark. It's actually very close to a lot of factory tints on the side windows and rear windows and stuff like that. It's actually less than some factory tints for certain windows. But check your state laws. You may be able to fully get away with it all around, or you may be able to only get away with it, on the sides for the doors and for the back. If, the more the better for whatever you're able to get away with. However, in just about everywhere, it is illegal to tint your front windshield, or for a lot of states, it's illegal to tint your front windshield. Obviously, at least to a noticeable degree. They'll say, you got to do 0 or whatever, but practically it's when it's noticeable. So what do? Now you can tint your front windshield legally. You can do it if you get a doctor's note. You need a doctor's note saying that your eyes are, sensitive and you need this window tint for a medical reason. You need your windshield tinted. So turns out there are actually multiple organizations that are sort of just doctor's note mills that you can go to them, you can pay them, some of them are like $150 or whatever. You can just pay them and the doctor will write you a note saying, hey, you need to, you're authorized to have a window tint or whatever. It's kind of a weird legal gray area, but there's multiple of these doctor's offices and stuff like that I've linked for in the guide, as you can see. So you don't have to do any research. You can just click right there and just go and then get it. And then you can EMF window tint your entire vehicle. Now, EMF detector. So you can know if you got a bunch of signal going around trying to blast your brain or whatever. I found a cool one. It specifically detects more so Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, concentrates on those frequencies. Of course, you can do this through SDR stuff if you have a screen, but I got a really awesome little keychain, no battery. It's a cool invention, and I got it linked, and that just detects if you got a bunch of EMF. It's pretty cool. It works. You put it next to a Wi-Fi router, the thing lights up. You put it next to a microwave that's turned on, that thing lights up like crazy. So that can just be a great little passive detector on your person, or you can put it, facing you in your dash or something so that you can notice. You can get a warning if a lot of crazy signals are getting blasted in the air, before you start suffering ill health effects, before you start getting some sort of forced visual hallucination or whatever. So it's good to know about. And it's good to see, if it's penetrating into your car or not. And then last in this first section of EMF shielding is you can get EMF reflective clothing. Now, this stuff is pretty pricey, but the good brands, there are lots of crap like fake brands. The good brands are really good. They do work. I have personally tested them. They work really, really good. So I've linked just the brand that I have the most experience with and that I like. They're pricey, but man, do they work. And I think that it's going to be more relevant as time goes on. They can help with so many things, even just of wearing the pants or the underwear and then having your phone in your pocket, stuff like that. They make full solutions, so it is nice, if something bad starts to happen in terms of EW, in terms of signal getting blasted out, to affect people's mood or something, that you could go run to your vehicle, get inside your vehicle, and then all of a sudden that's a safe space for anyone inside your vehicle. And then you can have a set of EMF clothing in your vehicle that then you can take your time to change into and then go back out into the area if you need. So great for making your vehicle your home base that can defend against a lot of stuff. So now level 2 is EMP hardening. So obviously it's still EW. It's a much more specific, much crazier use case. People will debate all day long about even just the realism, the possibility of EMP effects in an area from whatever sort of weapon systems and whatnot, be it a localized area or a big area. People debate that all day long. That's fine. I'm just going to tell you the things that you can do if you decide to care about that. So firstly, for your other devices, is the simplest thing you can do is just store your devices without the batteries inside them or without the battery packs inside them. That's going to be the very simplest thing that you can do to afford your devices some level of additional protection, is just detach the antennas and the batteries. Second level is you can get Faraday bags, put your devices in there for some protection. Now, as you can see here in my note, Faraday bags got like very trendy out of nowhere a little bit ago. And so a lot of them are kind of just like junk Chinese, Amazon companies or whatever. I linked one that seems to be the best. I've used different kinds, so I've linked another company for you there. Going down now to what you're all here for is your vehicle. What can you do to your vehicle to EMP harden it? So obviously, when you think of hardening an electrical system in your vehicle, the first thing that you probably think of is your car battery. So there are devices called ferrites, which are like these kind of donut ring shaped kind of hot dog bun things that you place over your wiring. The physics of it is weird, but just kind of due to the construction of the metal and stuff like that, they can kind of attract higher, extremely high frequencies and let the lower voltage and stuff that's in the vehicle system not be disturbed. There's stuff that you can learn about that if you want to learn more about that, but they do have legitimate usage. Ferrites are a real thing, so you can place them on the wires going into your car battery, the wires, let's say, going to your solar panel, going from your solar panel into your whatever battery that you are running, whatever devices you got running. You can place them on all different cords and stuff like that. And it just kind of attempts to absorb some of the higher EMP stuff out of any wires that may have, inadvertently become antennas for the EMP effect. So battery ferrites are good. The next is these things called trap devices. I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's made by a cool guy. He seems pretty good. He seems to know what he's talking about. I've incorporated his devices. They seem pretty good. You can get them for different stuff. It's just kind of plugs to put into different places. You can put them in the cigarette lighter outlet. You can put them in, if you have, a tiny home battery or whatever, RV stuff, you can hook it up into 110 AC, different stuff like that. So those help. And then, of course, there are more thorough solutions like the EMP shield stuff, some of the other different devices that you're going to see that are implemented in military vehicles and stuff like that, where they're kind of surge protector type devices that are more expensive, usually, $300 to $400 to $500 range. You can use those as well. And as always, I've linked all these products. I've linked these solutions so you don't have to go searching around. I got them for you. So then other vehicle systems apart from your battery is, here's one thing that I haven't heard other people do that I've done for a long time now is, all your stuff, you can still suffer some damage. Let's say in the event of some sort of EMP or whatever, you end up successfully protecting your car battery, let's say some other major components, but let's say it was still able to fry some fuses relating to your transmission or random engine things or whatever. Here's one thing that you can do is you can keep a Faraday bag of as many spare fuses as you can think of. Ideally, you want to have as close to a full copy of all of the spare fuses and relays, etc., in a Faraday bag in your vehicle. Now, if you go to the auto parts store, they're ripping people off like crazy. You go to Advance Auto or whatever, the fuses, they're so expensive, it's ridiculous. A great way that you can find fuses for way, way cheaper is just find an abandoned car, or, you can try to go to a junkyard or something and you can just pull tons of fuses. I've run through 2 different abandoned cars, and the amount of fuses that you get from them is crazy. You can get, couple $100 worth of fuses and relays easy from abandoned cars. So that's gold. You pick that stuff out for sure. Keep it in a Faraday bag. It's not only going to help you with repairing your vehicle for other reasons, but it's also a great backup for if you maintain some sort of system damage from an EMP. So moving on to level 3, these are the few offensive measures that you can take other than just having a drone gun from somewhere. And that is, you can get Flipper Zero type devices, hack RF type stuff to capture signals and then, blast them out at a strategic time to get through garage doors or open other cars or stuff like that. There's plenty of stuff on YouTube to watch about this kind of stuff. And then the kind of deeper thing is jammers, having an actual jammer. Now, of course, that's a tough area in terms of regulation. As far as I'm aware, they are not illegal to own. They're still not illegal to own. They're illegal to operate, they're illegal to buy, but they are not illegal to own. So if you have a big, huge battery in your vehicle, big huge power bank with access to, 110 AC, you may have a lot of jamming capability. That's all I'm going to say. But we're going to have to move on from that one. That's one category where if you're interested, you're going to have to do your own research on that just because of liability purposes. But that's still going to be in there at the very bottom. That's the quick and dirty on EW. More stuff will likely, this section will evolve